Okay, Siuslaw Learning Community, it's an absolute pleasure to be with Maestra Alicia Hernandez today, Spanish teacher, world languages teacher at Siuslaw High School. So thank you so much for letting me come into your class. Do you want to start by just introducing yourself, maybe a little bit about your educational background, how many years you've been with Siuslaw as well?
Yeah. This is officially my 19th year of teaching. I came here in 2018, so this is the beginning of my 5th year at Siuslaw High School as a Spanish world language teacher.
Yeah, where did you go to school?
So as my undergrad, I went to UC Santa Cruz and I did a minor in education and a major in community studies. The goal back then was I wanted to open up my own school, and it was going to be like a literacy focused school. I decided I wanted to go full-time teaching and ended up applying for a graduate program at Brown in the East Coast in Rhode Island, and I did my Master's of Arts in Teaching there, then came back to California, and long story, I'm here.
You're here.
I'm here.
Yay. So you've been in Siuslaw for 5 years. Your husband also works for the district. Do you want to say a little bit about his background and what he's doing now?
Yeah, my husband is Mr. Hernandez, and he is currently working a half position with supporting students with mindfulness and emotional support. And so he's excited.
He has a whole medical background, including
does.
Attending Stanford University as
did.
well.
My husband went to Stanford, did 4 years, and then had a change of heart with the career and it didn't align with his real purpose in life. Started getting into meditation and sort of become a master meditator. And realized how important it was in his life to do that, and he wants everyone to really learn and appreciate and know how important it is to be mindful and to meditate.
Later on today, I'm going to go over to the middle school and check out our program over there. So
yes.
With you today, we're going to see you working with Spanish 1 students and Spanish 2 students. Do you want to say anything about what we're going to see?
Yes.
And then also just about our world languages program in the district in general?
Sure. So let me start with at the high school, we have Spanish 1 and 2. And Spanish 1 is really beginning kind of like lots of exposure to short conversational language, and a lot, heavy in vocabulary, but that's how most languages are acquired. It's a start. And then slowly moving into reading and writing basic sentence structures in the language as well. And I try to make it fun and exciting, and I try to make it manageable, and I always hope that the numbers continue to grow and students continue to want to take Spanish as a class. The goal has always been for Siuslaw High School to eventually build up the program so that we have a total of 4 years of language for those students that would like to have that experience. And it does officially take really 8 years to really master a language. So 2 years is dabbling in. Spanish 2 students come in and say, well, Spanish 2 feels a lot easier, Mr. Hernandez. And it's like, well, no, it's because you have a base. It's also nice to have students for 2 years in a row.
Right.
I recommend do it for your freshman, sophomore year. That's my high recommendation because it's hard. Junior is an impacted year. It's a heavy year course-wise.
Yeah, and 2 years of a world language is required for most universities.
Yes, most universities require, and it has to be an in-person, not necessarily a digital classroom. So it's online will give them the high school credit, but you really need to be in person for your college acceptance program.
Final question I'm going to ask you is, so I am a Fulbrighter and I get to go to Peru at the end of June.
Nice.
I think I took 2 years of Spanish in high school, and then I'm pretty sure I took another year or 2 at the college level because that was a requirement for a master's in literature. Usually if you get any kind of literary degree, you also have to have languages attached to that.
Right.
But gosh, it's like use it. If you don't use it, you lose it.
Definitely.
So for people in my situation, or anyone really, what are some of the best like apps that you can recommend? Language acquisition apps, or
Rosetta Stone is one that comes to mind. But repetition and practice is the key. And I think whether it's an app or whether you find, I know there's like
a live person.
A live person, yeah. There's like Spanish groups that you can find, and across the world, you know, you could talk to someone in Chile and become speaking partners where, where you're able to connect and say, hey, I'm a learner, and they're learning English and you're learning Spanish, and you have your time shared.
Thought about that.
Yeah.
Like, that's the power of technology.
The power of
Zoom.
connecting
You can
in
just
technology.
Hop on and connect with a live human being.
So I think searching online for students who are learners of language and then connecting across the board, and you could meet someone from Spain, or you could meet someone, you know, from Mexico, or you can Nicaragua, and connect, and then they're practicing their English and you're practicing your Spanish.
That would be awesome.
And keep connected that way to practice, because it's you don't use it, you lose it. But I tell them, you don't necessarily lose it. It's just far back in your mind, and it needs to be brought. Yeah, it's in there somewhere, and it's not in. It is in your long-term memory. It's just you have the retrieval process for it is not easy. Okay. So it just takes time before it all comes back. Okay. But it's not necessarily gone. Yeah.
All right. Any final closing thoughts or comments you want to leave our viewing audience with
I guess
today?
I'm happy that we have a middle school Spanish teacher who, you know, is working hard to try to get students to, you know, get exposure to the language, so when they come here as freshmen, they're not so intimidated, and those are the students hopefully that might want to have 4 years of Spanish. We'll see, but that's I'm excited. It's nice to have a counterpart to connect with and to talk about and to say, like, what can we do? And it's nice that we both have Spanish clubs going. So
we have a Spanish club at the middle school and the high school.
And I invited the middle school to come over and have we had a little Spanish movie night, and we had hot chocolate, and we had pan dulce, and we just spend time.
Thank you for everything that you do. You're amazing. You're a gift to the school district.
Thank you. Thank you. Estudiar vocabulario, repaso de vocabulario, review from your vocab, and find your 6 o'clock partner. So take your notes with you, find your 6 o'clock partner.
Gracioso, funny, inteligente,
intelligent.
Muy bien, gracias. ¿Y tú?
Bien, dime, ¿cómo eres?
Soy gracioso y inteligente.
Muy bien. And then you would ask me.
¿Y tú?
Yo soy deportista y graciosa. Okay, there you go. All right. Yay!
It's 12:45.
Para estar listos to go out, to give, to have, to be, and then
the photographer. La photographer.
Notice how we've already highlighted this from the last time I went through it, but it's good to remind ourselves. So these are, we're going to the stem changing verbs. Also known as irregular verbs. Let's do one example with ser. Yeah. So exactly, we drop the AR or ER or IR, right? So let's do ser. Is that good review? What is ser?
To be.
To be. So we start with yo. What's our first conjugation? Soy. Good. What's our next conjugation? Tu. Anybody? Eres. And then we go he, she, proper form.
All right, Siuslaw Learning Community, we are now over at the middle school with Senora Peddycord. Why don't you start by telling us how many years have you been teaching and what's your background in education?
Yeah, so I've been teaching for 10 years now. Specifically here at Siuslaw, I've been here just this year.
Okay. And all in like secondary Spanish education for all 10 years?
So I worked 8 years as the middle school Spanish teacher in Bend, Oregon. And then I moved to 4th grade dual immersion last year, and now I'm back to the middle school.
Okay, wonderful. So we now have Spanish classes again in Siuslaw Middle School and High School, which is amazing. We also adopted a new curriculum this year. Do you want to say anything just about the importance of Spanish education, especially starting at the middle school level, getting kids prepared for high school and then college and career and beyond?
Yeah, so taking a world language, whether that's Spanish or French or anything, really just opens up the world for all students. And so it's just really great to learn about other cultures and really to understand and be empathetic for other people that might be different from us. So.
Absolutely, it totally stretches your brain. I think that students who take Spanish, as a former English teacher, students excel in English class when they're taking Spanish class at the same time. And then I love what you mentioned about world languages, creating empathetic human beings. I'm actually working on a Fulbright right now, and I'll be traveling to Peru. And knowing other languages is a global competency. So the more kids know additional languages, the better they're just going to do in life. So okay, so we're going to see both your intro to Spanish and your Spanish 1 class. Do you want to share what we're going to be watching today or what students are learning?
Yeah, so in the intro class, they are looking at clothing vocabulary. It's the first day of the unit, but we're also wrapping up the last unit and just kind of reviewing since being back from break. And so we're reviewing a conversation in Spanish, just basic conversation, and through a puppet show, and they're going to be recording that through Flipgrid. And then in Spanish 1, they are working on activities, so just review from the last few units, and we're also going to be doing a battleship as well.
Okay, thanks so much for inviting us in.
We're going to hold at the top. We'll hold for cuatro. Okay, does that sound good? Okay, so let's begin. We're going to breathe in, hold it, and breathe out. Breathe in. Hold. And we're going to go through the basic information and greetings notes, or just ask each other basic information questions like, how are you, what's your name, where are you from, what's your birthday,
You would say something like E2. E2. Me llamo. I don't know. ¿Cómo estás?
ask the class how to either answer something or how to translate something. Los dos voluntarios. Okay, go ahead.
Can I ask them?
You can.
¿De dónde eres?
Is that to answer?
Responde.
Responde. All right, go ahead. Okay. Okay, go ahead and responde or translate?
Translate mucho gusto.
All right, so every time you volunteer, you get pesos, you keep them in your folder, and then you get to trade them in for money,
I
for
told you guys
Yeah.
that
Like
you were
pencils
going to
and pens
work
and candy
on
and
what
best
today?
tickets and
You're going to learn shopping vocabulary. Okay? So, ¿cuánto cuesta? Repite, ¿cuánto cuesta? means how much does it cost? Okay? So we're going to be, by the end of this unit, you will be able to create a situation in which you and someone else are shopping, and one is the attendant, one is the shopper, and you should be able to have a conversation. Repite, por favor. La tienda. De ropa. La tienda de ropa. That means the clothing store. Okay? How do you say the clothing store? El traje. The J sounds like an H. Write it. You can write a little H above it if you want to. El traje de baño. And this would be the socks. Oh, for your conversation between your two characters, or three, however many you want. Make sure that everyone says at least 2 full questions. Okay? Does that make sense? And these instructions are where also?
Google Classroom.
In Google Classroom. But I'll leave them up for today. Tomorrow you're going to use the computers and you can have the instructions in front of you. Okay?